now a app out there that you can check out and listen to the show on as well. So there basically continue to be more and more opportunities and availability for all of you. You search basically Clay Travis, Buck Sexton on any tech platform, including YouTube, and you will find the show and you will be able to subscribe. And we see those numbers. In fact, we just got an email about how many people are signing up for all the different social accounts, and we certainly appreciate all of you with how many people out there are following. It's about to hit 100,000 on Twitter, Facebook over 50,000, Instagram about to hit 30,000. So Truth Social, we've got over 200,000 of you that are following out there. Rumble over 130,000. Basically, if there is a social platform, you can find us, and we hope that you will follow us and be able to consume the show there. A couple of details out there. We started off the show telling you that the FBI was searching Joe Biden's beach home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Reports are that they did not find any classified documents there, but of course that search came 3 months, essentially, nearly 3 full months after they made the initial discovery of classified documents in the Penn Biden office. We've been talking about the DeSantis versus Trump battle that continues. A lot of you have been weighing in on that. And Buck, I don't know how much attention you've paid to this, but there's increasing surrounding how incompetent Kamala Harris is. The Washington Post had a massive feature piece in the last day or so, and it featured, as these pieces tend to do, a lot of anonymous sources, but these were not Republicans attacking Kamala Harris. This was Democrats effectively saying she's incompetent. There was a University of New Hampshire poll that came out recently, 2024 presidential poll. Mayor Pete, believe it or not, was doing better than Joe Biden. 23% Mayor Pete, 18% for Joe Biden. But Kamala Harris was at 2%. And, I mean, this is an indictment overall of her skills. And I wanted to play this audio for you of Kamala Harris. It feels to me, Buck, like all of her speechwriters hate her because they put things into a teleprompter that not only are juvenile and sound a bit like a kindergarten teacher is talking to her classroom, but also just sound even worse the way that she delivers it. And so we've had clips, but this just happened, I think, yesterday. Kamala Harris was talking about astronauts and going to space because these are the kind of things they have events for her to discuss. This is what it sounded like. Enjoy.
Which brings me to May 30th, 2020. Bob and Doug returned to the Center. They suited up. They waved to their families, and they rode an elevator up nearly 20 stories. They strapped in to their seats as the tanks beneath them filled with tens of thousands of gallons of fuel. And then they launched. Yeah, they did.
If this was your kindergarten teacher and she was like flipping through a storybook, you might be like, okay, I like her enthusiasm. I appreciate the way she's talking to the kids. This is the woman who's a heartbeat away from being the leader of the free world. It's terrifying.
And again, I think you just have to look at the Democrat Party realities as it stands internally. It has to be Kamala. There's no way they allow for an open primary challenge and Kamala Harris gets pushed aside for Gavin Newsom. I'm sorry.
White guy?
The optics on that? No way. And so this is why it all comes to it's got to be Biden again. And look, they didn't find any classified. We just gave you that breaking news. And it's not the most exciting breaking news in the world, but it is breaking in the last hour. They didn't find more classified, strewn about next to the Corvette or whatever else. But I do think that Kamala Harris has proven to be an even weaker and less likable politician in the role than the Democrats anticipated. And remember, Democrats Democrats didn't vote for her, right? So the expectations were pretty low, I think, for how she would do in office. But she has the lowest profile in terms of the vice president's job. And you have to go back many administrations.
Yeah, and it's not only the low profile, it's that even with the low profile, she manages to appear incompetent every time she speaks. And one of the stories that is prevalent about Kamala Harris is she basically just doesn't do her homework. She's not someone who is a grinder. She's not trying to master details. And I think that's because, let's be honest, she has used the fact that she is a minority and a woman to play this identity politics hand adroitly. The problem that she has, the essence of her, she is what is she, almost 60 now, right? Almost a 60-year-old woman. She's married to a Jewish lawyer from LA who was in a big high-end law firm. And she doesn't really connect with and I think you could use an interesting contrast with Trump, for instance, because, Buck, when we interviewed Trump at Bedminster, and I talked about this on air, but I do think it's really significant, and this was behind the scenes. While we were talking to him, Donald Trump Jr., really good guy, funny, active on social, came to his family to say hi because they were having a live golf event during one of the commercial breaks, and Jr. had his kids, that is, Trump's grandchildren. And it was just so interesting to see Trump interacting as grandpa, right? One of his granddaughters was there, and they were talking about whether she wanted to go out and play golf with him. And in that moment, you strip away much of the larger character of Donald Trump, and he's just grandpa to that little girl, right? And so what I mean by that is a big part of Trump's appeal, I really think, Buck, was the fact that his kids, unlike Hunter Biden, they're all pretty good kids, right? Like, yes. All of his kids have done well for themselves in terms of growing into adulthood, having their own kids, having their own life, staying out of trouble.
They're all pretty exceptional. I mean, honestly,
yes.
Let's just look at this. I mean, even apart from their last name, they're successful adults with skills and brands of their own.
And that's a credit to Dad and Mom and the culture that they helped to create in those kids. And what I mean by that, if you think about Kamala Harris, for instance, running against Trump, I think Trump would utterly destroy her because she doesn't do her homework. She doesn't really, the idea of the American dream, I don't think she really fulfills it. Obama, I think a big part of Obama's appeal was he had young kids in the White House with him. I think if DeSantis were the nominee, I think having those young kids would matter in a big way. Kamala is just not talented.
Obama presented a very solid family unit and family image, and it was very appeling. It is very appealing.
His daughters seem to have done well, right? I mean, a credit to him. Yeah. Like they've graduated from school.
It is what it is. We live in Realityville, and the Obama family unit was, all the four of them together was an asset to him politically, and a credit to him as a man. It's the narrative matters, as you know. I mean, the narrative around the individual is a big part of this.
Yes.
And the Kamala as president narrative, look, there are some aspects of it the Democrats will play up and they'll really like. But as it pertains to voters, right, the Democrat machine will say, oh, it's amazing, glass ceiling shattering and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But getting the voters, we ran the experiment. You saw the voters the last time around. They were not, I'm talking Democrat, primary.
Yeah.
Not enthusiastic about Kamala Harris.
Well, and I think a big part of that, going back, is people like to see themselves reflected in the candidate in some way. Dad or mom, however they fit in the family dynamic. This is honestly, it drives you crazy. I think a big appeal of the royal family, because people project their own family dynamics onto the royal family, and they say, oh, this guy in our family is like Prince. But if you look at Kamala Harris, she's Indian and black, and she's married to a white guy, and she has no children. Okay? how much of the black experience does Kamala Harris connect with if you are in Georgia or you're in South Carolina or you are growing up black in America today? You probably aren't, half Indian. Your parents probably, I think her parents were PhD students. You probably have kids yourself. You probably aren't married to a white lawyer in LA who's making $1 million a year. In other words, I think Kamala Harris rings very artificial to almost everyone across the political spectrum, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. That registers, and it's why I think to a big degree Democrats are desperate to drag Joe Biden out again, because she's awful. She can't win, and they know it, and they're trying to forestall that inevitable loss.
Biden is the least bad option for them, and all they care about is winning and staying in power, because it's really the machinery that governs, not Joe Biden, the individual. So they just need their team calling the shots, Team Democrat, right? So with that as the mentality, I think it's clear that Kamala Harris is not going to be stepping in. Now, would Kamala Harris step in during Biden term 2? Yeah, I actually can see very readily, because, first of all, his age. I mean, legitimately, Joe Biden is getting to an age now where it wouldn't be some scheme or plot. He may just be unable to do the job.
I think he can barely, and I'm not even, this is not hyperbole, Buck. I think he can barely run in 2024 purely from a health perspective. If you watch this guy, he is deteriorating rapidly in front of us. And 2 years when you're 80 is a lot different than 2 years when you're 50 or 60 or 70, right? I mean, that's a massive jump.
Yeah, no, it is. It is indeed. There are thousands of people who are working to save the lives of unborn children every day. They work and volunteer at the preborn pregnancy clinics nationwide. These locations are in cities where abortions occur most often, and they're purposely there to offer women an alternative. That is the gift of meeting their unborn child through a complimentary ultrasound. When a pregnant mother meets the child she's carrying and hears that heartbeat, sees the movement of that child in the womb, so often the righteous decision is made to give life to that baby. These same team members provide compassion, counseling, clothing, even diapers for the first 2 years of that baby's life. Through all this, Preborn has rescued over 200,000 babies, and every day their clinics save 150 babies' lives. This is where you come in. Preborn operates on donations from you, the pro-life community. One ultrasound costs just $28. 5 ultrasounds, you could help with 5 ultrasounds for $140. And any amount will help, and these gifts are tax deductible.
Damn, I have to get to the bathroom. So